Hello, hello, hello.
Woohoo! We are here. Ben, you still look strange. I don't know
look
what's
strange.
going on.
Is it just to me or is it to everyone else?
I don't
I'm
know.
pulling
Can
this up.
anyone see Ben properly, or is Ben like long arms? Let me know in the chat. It's kind of weird, but it's fine. What can we do?
Here, give me a second. I'm gonna turn my camera off and turn it back on.
Yeah, no, and you rejoined already, so
Okay, everyone else thinks I look weird?
let me know if Ben looks weird. I mean, he looks kind of cool. I don't
Yes,
mean
I look
weird in the
weird.
wrong
Okay,
way.
weird. Give me a second.
The thing is that he looks perfect in the actual preview image, so it looks he looks like a normal human, all good. Some people are saying all good. I have no idea. I have YouTube open as well. I might open and see what is displaying. You are looking good on YouTube, so it's just in StreamYard. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, on.
Let's leave it. He's looking good. So there's something on the back end part of StreamYard that's showing him in a weird way. Ben looks great to me. I love that. Great.
Someone said I mean to find weird. I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that.
If you saw what I was seeing, you would totally understand.
Okay, perfect.
Ben, it's been ages.
I know it has been. I was just looking at that. It's been a long time, and you've done a ton of them. What's new in the Playwright world? It feels like a lot's new in the Playwright world.
A lot is new. A lot is new. And that is why we are here. So first of all, before I go into like, oh, what's new, let's just say hello to everyone. Thank you everyone for commenting and telling me Ben looks good. And yes, hello everyone and welcome. We are here to kind of show you what's the latest in Playwright, what's kind of new, and just go over a couple of things because we did a release recently. We had a couple of people trying it out, and we got a good few responses and issues we fixed and things. So I want to go over them, but I really, really, really want you to like really make this chat as active as possible. Ben's here to help as well in letting us know the feedback. So I really want you to be as honest as possible and just tell me what you're feeling, what you've used, what you've tried out, what you like, what you don't like, etc.
So Debbie, what's the next hour normally look like? Can you break down kind of like what's the next hour going to be in terms of like where you want to spend time?
So I want to go over the latest release, which is the Playwright Agents, and I want to answer all your questions and doubts on what are the Playwright Agents. If you've seen the release video, perfect. If you haven't seen the release video, I might do a quick like deep dive into it to explain a little bit more. And then basically just you want me just I'm going to put a screenshot of Ben because he just every time he moves his arms get longer. It's really cool.
Perfect. And then, so what's going to happen is while Debbie is doing the demo and stuff like that, if you put questions into chat, I will try to write them down, and either we'll try to get to them as we're going, or if there are questions that we do not get to, I'll try to have a log of questions that we get to at the end and sort of go through when it comes to the question and answer. There is a couple of people though saying they're still saying event will start soon. Someone else said yes, most people are still waiting on the other link. Are those are both LinkedIn folks? Anyone on LinkedIn able to see this? I just wanted to call that out, Debbie, just before we get going, just to make sure that there's, for whatever reason, not a channel that's having an issue.
Let me click the button. It says I'm live on LinkedIn, but I'm going to open it up. You might hear a little bit of a double thing here as it no, that's not the one I wanted. Let me open up LinkedIn and see. Maybe restart LinkedIn. I would restart LinkedIn because it's coming up here in StreamYard that is live. And is everyone else in LinkedIn able to hear and see us? I'm guessing. Just someone comment there quickly, which will save me having to find it. Yeah,
refreshing browser started event. Interesting. Okay, LinkedIn. Oh, LinkedIn has two links. One is working and one is not.
Okay, LinkedIn looks good. So, okay, good. All right, perfect. I love this. Is it you who made some videos about MCP server Playwright? Is it me? Of course it's me. This is me, the only one and only me. Yes, that is me. I am the famous one. Okay, cool. So everything LinkedIn looks good. So everything we're good. So all the technical issues have been resolved and we are going to dive in. Ben, have you tried the latest release? Have you had time?
I have. I've played with it a little bit. Particularly enjoyed some of the stuff where it just had a browser up. What I was playing with was basically keeping an existing browser up, and then when locators were failing, I was using the agent just to like tell me which new locators I could try and stuff like that. Had a couple little hiccups that I got through that I'd love to do tips and tricks and share with people after you are showing folks stuff. So like, feel like very excited, also excited to share a little bit of feedback and get other people's feedback.
Cool. Well, I'm going to, what will I do first? Maybe I'll just quickly go over the doc so people know what I'm talking about. And then I'll do a mini quick demo. So let me just open that first before I start sharing my screen. What are you excited about, Ben?
In general, in life?
No, I don't care about your life. Come on, you know that.
No,
in the testing world.
In the testing
world.
A couple of things. One is what I'm really excited about is a lot of the newer models in general continue to know Playwright. Like it used to be like 6 to 12 months ago, I was like fighting with the models in terms of practice and sort of understanding practices. And I feel like the newer models really, really are good at writing Playwright. Like I can tell Claude 4.5 Sonic, hey, I want a POM file for this thing, and it rips out a really nice class with a constructor, locators. The locators in general, in terms of AI, is significantly better than they used to be. And so that's been really fun. Really interested on the MCP stuff because I feel like the MCP stuff like 6 to 12 months ago was still kind of a novelty. And there's aspects of it that I think, okay, I can truly see the usability, but it feels we're kind of on this threshold right now where hopefully it's going to become like really into this moment where MCPs are starting to really drive. Like someone already said, I had an agent write a whole set of tests for me and my project was missing some of the functionality. So like, I think there's a lot of really interesting things happening there. Yeah, no, a lot of different exciting things. I would love to compare notes with people, but I don't want to spend too much time talking. So where are we at in terms of, drop the link in the other. So there is still some other link that's waiting on LinkedIn as a heads up. So I think it sounds like some people maybe are hopefully sharing those links, but we'll just keep rolling.
Yeah.
I just wanted to call
if
it
someone
out.
can do that, that would be great. And it would save me having to open up LinkedIn. I don't know. It's auto-generated this stuff. So I don't know sometimes why it didn't do the right link. Right, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'm going to have to share the whole screen and nothing but the screen. That's always scary. All right, there we go. So, and let me do. Streaming have changed things, and now
I did a conference presentation 3 months ago while you're doing this, and I plugged in my computer thinking it was an extended window, and it mirrored my iMessage history. And everyone, like, there was nothing bad on it, but it was one of those moments where like, I looked up and the entire conference room was just showing my iMessage history.
Wow, lovely.
It was
I mean, that happens. It happens.
Yeah, no,
all right, so this is the Playwright docs, which you should all know, and you can literally click on Get Started, and you can go to Agents. This is the new page. Now, this is in Node.js only, so if you're looking at it under the other docs, language docs, you're not going to find it. It is Node.js only for the moment. I cannot answer the question on is it going to be available in all languages, because I don't know yet, but I'm sure we're going to try and get it for Python at least, but we're working on that. At the moment, Node.js only. This is the video I released that you should all have watched. And if you haven't, you can just watch it later. It's only like 5 minutes or something. And this is the link. This is what you need to use in order to actually get these agents up and running. So at the moment, we only support VS Code, Claude Code, and Open Code. So they are the loops that we support right now. We do not support anything else for the moment due to basically the missing support in other IDEs, etc. So I'm going to do a demo from the very beginning. So yes, I'm going to I'm doing a live demo, so it can all go wrong, right? So bear that in mind. Now, this actually note here can literally be taken down because VS Code has updated right now, literally just before this live. I made sure they updated before I went live. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to just copy this so I can update, and then let's go over to VS Code. Now, VS Code, you need to be on 1.105. I've literally just gone down here to the gear icon, and I actually pressed update, and I need you all to do that if you want to use the agents. It's very important because it will not work on a previous version. It will. You might think it's working, and you'll get all confused, and then you'll get all annoyed, and it looks like it's working, but it's not. it has to be on version 1.105, so update VS Code. And that's just been released, and it should have spread out to every country in the world right now. I'm sure it's even in Australia. Okay, so once you have that, you need to make sure you have Playwright at the latest version as well, which is 1.56. That's also very, very important. So check your package JSON and make sure you have 1.56. And if you don't, update Playwright to the latest version. That is basically the most important thing you can do in order to be successful. After that, it's easy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up a terminal, and I'm basically just going to init my agents, right? So I've just copied that from the docs, right? So literally just copy paste from the docs, npx playwright init-agents --loop equals v code. Ben, feel free to interrupt at any stage if you see a particular question that's kind of like, worth going at this moment.
Well, the first thing I'll clarify. So doing npx init agents does not automatically update Playwright, correct?
It does not.
Okay, because I made that mistake. So that already explains one of the things that I had, which is it did not occur to me to update Playwright when I did this. So I installed this, but I completely forgot to update Playwright. So you've already answered one of the areas that I know I stumbled.
Yeah, think of like npx playwright test. That runs a test, but it doesn't update. npm is your installing command that you need to use to install the latest versions. And npx is the tools that Playwright uses to do the things that it does.
Perfect.
Okay, so here we go. Init agents, bam, and there we go. That's it, done, easy. Right, so let's quickly go over what was written to these folders and files here. So we've got a .github folder, and it's written at chat modes. And this will be different if you're using a different loop. If you're using Claude or if you're using open code, you will see it a little bit different, but it's the same kind of thing, right? So in here, we'll have our chat modes, which is what we call it in VS Code. These are our agents. We've got planner, generator, and healer. Now I can open this up. I want to leave this open so I can make sure we cover everything. Right, this is great because I've got some squiggly lines in here. So you're all going to get this same thing, unknown tool. This is perfect. So basically here we have our description. Use this agent when you need to create comprehensive test plan for web application or website. And they're the tools that it can use in order to do its job. And this is its job description. So we've basically created this to tell the agent what it can and what it should do and how it should do what it's doing. And this is the planner. And the generator then has these tools as well. And then the description of what it should do. And it's got some dummy kind of stuff in there, so it kind of knows. And then the healer as well, the tools that it has available to it, and the description and the job description of the healer agent. And just healer is a difficult word, right? Healer is the fixer, the debug and fix it.
So if someone's not familiar with MCPs and the concept of tools,
I was going to go to that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that was also explained.
Yeah. So let me go into this folder here, which is the .vs code mcp.json file. And that's what these tools are referring to. So good question, Ben. So mcp.json, and this is the confusing part, right? This is Playwright test. Now we have a Playwright MCP server, which many have been using. We released it in, I don't know, February, March, and it's absolutely amazing. And it does all browser automation, and you can go and buy tables on it, and you can fill out forms, and you can do all these cool things, and you can also write tests. But that's the Playwright MCP server, and this is the Playwright test MCP server. This is like, you can basically say this is built into Playwright, and it's specifically for testing, and its tools are focused on testing, and that's why it's here. So we generate this for you. You don't have to actually do anything. You don't have to worry about it. It basically is just built in for you. All you need to know that it's there, because maybe you need to know it's there because of, I don't know, your job requirements, etc. You need to know what tools you're using. But yes, it is using an MCP server. Locally, it's running it using an npx command. And they are the tools here that it uses to run.
Cool. Okay.
And then the last thing that gets generated is the c.spec file. So this one here, and it got generated in my logged in folder because that's the first project I have in my Playwright config. So the seed file is basically something you will use in order to seed a test. Before you need to get to a specific point in the test, you want to have this you want it to get to here always, you could use fixtures. It could be just like go to this specific URL, and the LLM will copy it from the seed file into each of the tests. You might not need this, so you can just leave it completely blank, but the LLM will expect it. So kind of make sure, just leave it there and leave it blank is totally fine. And that's what the seed is for. Does that make sense?
Thinking about use cases for the seed file specifically, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's a point to kind of accelerate. So like MCPs can traditionally maybe be a tad slow at times, and sort of some of these other things, like the seed file is going to get you right to the point where you want the AI and the MCP to kind of pick up and start working from. Is that my understanding of the benefit of the seed file, or am I misunderstanding it some correctly?
It's not about speed. It's about, and I'll show you with a complex example, and I think that's the best way to explain it. So, for example, I have a test here, my logged in test. This is an application of the movies application. Actually, I will need to run it locally first to make sure that's actually going to work. So I actually have it running on another thing, which is going to be a bit annoying because sometimes I'm not sure it's going to get the right port. So I might actually have to kill the port first.
3001, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if 3001 will work. So what I'll do is I'll just, is this one open? This is the one I was doing earlier. So let me just kill all my nodes first, There we go. And then and let me start that again, because I have, it might work on 3001, but I just don't want to chance it. There we go, localhost 3000. I always have like a million 3000s, like everything opens, always a problem. So let me just quickly open the app so you kind of get a quick idea of what it does. It's just a movies app. It's not a great app. And basically normally you would start in this state, in a logged out state. And I've got this dummy login, and it's like just really used only for testing. But this basically, and let me just bring this up here so I can see you. I lost you from screen. There you go. So in here, you would just go and log in. Again, this is a really dummy login. I go me.com. And this is totally open source. You can get it from my GitHub repo. You can totally clone it and do what you want with it. And I'll do just a lovely password there and log in, right? No, I do not need to save that password. Thank you very much. And now I go ahead and create a list, right? Because I want to run tests based on a list having been created. And so I'm going to create a list called my movies, and it's got all my movies for a Saturday, for example. And then I continue, and then I would go and add a movie to a list. So I'm going to add Deadpool. Perfect. I actually don't like Deadpool. Sorry. Inside Out. Love Inside Out. That's definitely a movie for me. And let's just take... You know what? I don't like Alien, but it's a great movie. But it scares me. So there is my list of movies, right? And I can basically, that's what I want to then test from. So if you have a movies list, you think about any other application that you need to get to a certain point in your test, this is where I want to start my test. And now I want the test to test the edit, the share, the add, remove movies, but I don't want to have to constantly tell it to go and log in, etc. And I want that code to be reusable across my tests, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So I have a manage lists fixture in here. So I've got I've got some fixtures here. I can probably just close that down. Yeah, I've got some fixtures in here where I basically just do what I just showed you. It creates a page, creates a list, adds an image, and opens the list page. I probably should have added an image there and opened the list page, but more or less that's what the fixture does. And that gets me to that stage. Look, it added the 3 movies, and I'm using some functions to add the movies, so my code is reusable. And then I basically have one test that I created, which is basically importing the add movie, importing the list test, and basically doing const page equals list page, right? So that's my fixture. If anyone's used fixtures. If you haven't used fixtures before, it's a little bit complex and stuff, but it's really, really great. It's a really great feature of Playwright, and you should totally check it out. So basically what I would do is, I'm not very good at copying and pasting, but I'm going to copy and paste and get it all wrong. But we could literally just copy this here, right? And then take our seed file and, did I copy it right? Let me see, manage list. No, because this has the describe block and this doesn't. So let me not do that because I'll just break it. Right. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna copy the imports into our seed. Okay. So now I'm gonna expect. I've got the add movie, and then I can go ahead and do my this part here, which is basically the test part. If you're not following me, I totally get you.
No, this makes sense. So what's it queuing off of? The file name, probably in some ways. Does the test name specifically doesn't matter since you just changed that? So really, as long as the file name is seed.spec.ts, that's the core thing that needs to stay the same.
Yeah, and you can have multiple seeds per depending on what you're doing, depending on different features and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove this add movie helper feature because there's nothing in my test here, but I might use it if I wanted to, but I'm going to start it off like this to keep it simple. So I want the expect to be there, and I want list test as test, and my list page. So my page is going to be list page. So that's my seed test. Now, technically, this test should just work. So let's go ahead and run it and see if it does first, because otherwise we would have a problem, because if it doesn't work for me, it's not going to work for the LLM. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
So, and when you go to the VS Code extension, you can choose projects, and I want it to run the setup test. That's the login test. That's a separate test. And then I'm allowing it to run the logged in Chrome. So now if I go here to test logged in, I have this seed file test, and I'm just going to run that test. And this runs the setup test, as you can see here. Now it should, I didn't open a browser. I didn't show browser. So it actually did it, but I can run that again just so you can actually see that it does it, just, out of interest. So it should now open a browser. Let me see which window is going to open on. Damn, there it is. Perfect. And it's logged in, right? Just what I did. And I created that list. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. Now the LLM is able to continue with the test and do all the things it needs. And it doesn't have to think about having to try and get all to that stage and worry about the locators and all the stuff for that stage. It's just there, right? So it's kind of like getting it to a point of it focusing on, I want to test the page from here onwards.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Cool, because it is a bit complex. So now we have to do the actual, and like I said, you might not need this, so you could totally just leave it blank and it's fine. Now we need to open the chat, and let me come along here. And you'll see here, like you have, agents here, you have now these planner, generator, and healer. Okay. And you can click on your tools here if you want to. You can deselect all these, you can select them. It doesn't matter, right? And you'll have now the Playwright test server and the Playwright server. This is saying update tools, and I'm going to click it because I always like to make sure tools are updated. And it might solve the issue that you've seen here in my chat modes where, let me just not click it first, where these were underlined, right? So if you're seeing these issues, let's click on the toolbar and let's just click on update tools.
And I actually think this was the second portion that I messed up when I was trying this, which is I had the Playwright MCP on, but not the Playwright Tools MCP on.
Playwright test, yes.
Yes, Playwright test, excuse me. The Playwright test MCP on, and just calling that out for people who didn't pick up on that, which is there's now 2 MCP servers. And that was another area that I kind of mixed up when I was trying to do this on my end.
Yeah, it can be confusing indeed. So that's what I would recommend doing. And then when you open the file, you can see there that it looks all good now, and it's not got that squiggly line saying tool not found. So then you should be more successful. So then click on planner. And we can close that chat mode. We don't need it open. Don't worry about this. It's just saying it's expected to declare, but it's not. That's just an ESLint error. We could totally just put, ignore errors in there if you want to. And basically, let me close this to get more space. Basically, we just tell our planner agent to go ahead and create a test plan. And I've got the seed file in context. This is really important to have it in context, because otherwise it's might have to look for it and might not find it. So always just put it in there. You can drag and drop and put it in there, or if it's open, it's automatically included. Choose your model. I was using 4.5 preview. You could totally use 4. You could probably use other models. They probably will give different results, different things, different ones do different things, and that's expected. But also if you gave this to me and to you, Ben, we would probably test things differently. I would choose 3 different movies to you, right?
Yeah.
So that's okay.
The only thing I'll say about models is, unfortunately, the premium models that cost money just tend to perform better. And like, that is the reality of using some of these models at this point, is like, you unfortunately have to pay for performance, in the sense of like premium models just, I find, just that much more consistent. But generate a test plan. So this is going to be the first question that I've already seen a couple people, which is, like, what's the scope of these test plans? So someone said already in the chat, like, well, I told it to generate test plans for the whole app. Another person said test plans for just a feature. So like, when you guys are writing this and trying to optimize this, like, what's the scope of this task in your mind? Like, how complex do you think you can get it, or how focused do you want it to be?
I think it depends on the app. And like this app, this is quite a lot of stuff in here that needs to be tested. So this movies list feature is pretty complex. So I would like to break it down. I would like to break it down and kind of focus on its particular feature. But maybe my personal website, which has very little to test, I might say just do the whole website, because there's not a lot going on there. There's really not a lot to test. But on this movies app, there's quite a lot to test. So I would personally do, like, I'm doing the movies list feature and asking you to save it as the movies list plan in the specs folder. I'm specifically specifying the specs folder here because that's where I want all my specs to be in. So the next one I'll do is, maybe I might go over some of my logged out tests and do other stuff, right? So this is the cool thing. The first thing that you'll get is a run setup planner page. And you can see it's running Playwright test MCP server. If you do not see this as the first tool call that your LLM does, then something is wrong. And go and update something, do something, update tools, update VS Code, update Playwright.
Yeah,
there's something
just
wrong.
To recap: update Playwright, update VS Code, and then make sure you're using the right MCP server, which is, there's now the Playwright test MCP server, not the original.
You shouldn't need to do anything. The only thing I did there was just update the tools, because they were just added because VS Code was updated. And then there's a new thing added, so it's just the way it works. Cool. But you won't always need to do that. But you need to make sure run setup planner page. That's the first tool always that's going to be called. Okay. And you can see the seed file there that it's adding into it. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you want me to allow this? Yes, go ahead, allow. I definitely want you to use this MCP server. And here you go. Now the LLM is logging in. And now it's going to open up another browser, and it's going to create the movie list with the 3 movies.
Because it's running the seed file with your traditional Playwright automation code in it.
Exactly. And now I can see a movies list feature. And now it's saying that it wants to run click and to perform it. But let's just pause there for a second, and let's just have a look in here. So the seed file was used for the setup plan. It ran 2 tests. We saw that, but I just want to point it out. It ran 2 tests. One is the setup test, and the other is the other test from the seed. It paused at the end of the test, ready for interaction, right? You can see the browser's paused. It's like, I've got to the point that I need to get to, and now I need to continue and run the page. The page snapshot is here. This is a demo intended for testing. This is the URL. This is the menu, the movies, etc. The button search for movie, etc. This is what the LLM sees and has access to. Ben, super important. I ran a setup test. I logged in. LLM does not have my fantastic password and username, right? Because I'm using the setup test and the way I've structured it. If I was to just copy and paste code into the seed file, it would get access to it, right? Like, do you know what I mean? So you need to make sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yep. Yeah, I totally get it. So that's one of the other value adds, which is if like you're in a security situation where there are certain env variables, stuff like that, that you basically want to make sure you've put them in your traditional code that AI is not directly running. And yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. This is using process.env and it's logged in, but because I'm using setup, it doesn't have access. And even the setup, like there's nothing in here in the setup, but this will be copied over. Yep. You'll see this copied over. So if you were to put your login here, this would be copied over. So you need to, be secure and do everything. But LLM does not have your login if you're running setup tests, the tests that run before another project. So that's super cool. All right, let's continue again. I'm just allowing it to click, and you can click on this button here and make it faster by saying always allow, or allow in this session, or allow in this workplace. Let's go allow in this session, because click is just a simple kind of one that,
and people who have not used MCPs, just to quickly describe it, right? So all this is MCP is doing with the Playwright is basically it's doing something with the browser. That happens. It then pauses and it uses AI to decide what it wants to do next based on a goal. And then it's using the Playwright tools, which are basically what's allowing it to interact with the browser, deciding what it wants to do next. And that could be anything from click to fill to move to hover to anything that like we as a human would do. Exactly, that Playwright does. And it's basically navigating the website, but just using like AI decides what it wants to do. It then tries to take an action and then so forth. And it seems like we've gotten to an interesting spot. So I'll let you take over.
Thanks. But yes, exactly. MCP is just giving the LLMs the possibilities of using tools to be able to do things that it couldn't previously do, such as open a website and navigate to it, because that's what Playwright can do. So it gives it Playwright tools. The GitHub MCP would allow you to create issues in GitHub, for example. The Figma MCP would allow you to do your designs in Figma and LLM, access them, etc. So this is the run page snapshot. It's capturing accessibility snapshot of the current page. That's how Playwright MCP works, or Playwright Test MCP in this case works, that it can read the snapshot of the page. So it can read everything and knows what's there. That's how it knows the code. And that's how it knows how to create better tests and how to do things the best way possible. So you can't see here, but it's going to explore the search, the image here.
And remind us the prompt you gave it. Why is it like, what's it trying to do as it's working through this?
So it's figuring out what's there. So I basically said, like, generate tests for the movie list feature. And I've gotten it to the stage where it's on the movie list. That's the wrong one. Sorry, that one there. I should close this one to not confuse you all. There's the browser that the MCP server is using. So it's basically, I gave it to a certain state, and then it could see, oh, look, there's a menu there with edit, share, add, remove, and create a new list. So it's like, well, that's kind of, interesting to test. And now here you can see there's some errors there, right? Because look, if you look at this, there's no close button on this. It's very, very inaccessible. So that's something that, we could look and say like, oh, I should totally fix this, or not. Maybe I don't care. That's up to you. I run navigate to a URL. Yeah, let's go. So it's going to go and navigate to specific URL. And it's creating a new list here, and there's a couple of things in the menu, and you'll see it open the menu and go to things.
I would imagine it's using like the thread memory systems to continue to build up like context and memory as it's going, of kind of what it's seen and what it's done and what decisions it's making.
We'll go through a couple of things. Okay. How the LLM works behind the scenes as well is a bit
fair. Fair.
And now it's running closed browser. So basically it says, I can see the menu structure. Let me close the browser and create a comprehensive test plan based on all the features I've explored. So it reckons it's done its job. And it should now create the test plan. This normally takes a few minutes. It's going to, especially as I'm streaming, it might like use up my CPU and stuff. I don't see a specs folder. Great. So it's going to go and create that. And that's because the built-in tools it has allow it to create folders. So we've given it those tools to create folders and stuff, and you can review those tools. But it's just a simple built-in tools for MCP. Okay, as that creates the plan, and it's going to take a couple of minutes here. Any questions, Ben?
Someone was asking a little bit about like the cost of running MCPs, and I don't actually know the answer to that. Like, are running MCPs expensive? Are they not expensive? Like, what's the general like use case as far as when it comes to something like this? Is it more than using it from a coding perspective?
I mean, it's all about your tokens and stuff, right? And you can look up here and see the premium requests. So I'm at 6.4% of my premium requests. So you'd have to kind of like look at these and see what it's using, how many things is it writing. I mean, yes, you're going to have to pay for things that are not free, unless you're using one of these free models, for example, that allows you to use MCP servers. You could check that out. But there is like, I mean, nothing's free these days, unfortunately. But how much it costs depends on how much what you're doing and what you're like, how much you're generating and things like that, I guess. But it's definitely faster than you doing it yourself, in my opinion. But again,
Perfect. Other questions? Just scrolling back up because I just saw one.
I can bring one up here.
Yeah.
Would you agree with this definition of MCP service? It can be considered as an API bridge, funnel, or door for the AI agent presenting the functionalities of an application. So some people kind of like say API bridge, and it's kind of like not like an API or an API wrapper. Some people say it's not. It's kind of more than that. I like to think of it as superpowers. It gives the LLM the powers that you have to use things like Playwright, right? So Playwright is a browser automation tool, and so it can give you the powers to use Playwright. So the LLM can use Playwright just like you would have used Playwright, and that's kind of like the cool thing. And then think about every other MCP server out there. What tools does it have? Like there's a PayPal one, there's another one. There's so many MCP servers now. But more or less, you could kind of say, yeah, more or less, it's like a bridge between them, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, so like watching you do this, there's a couple of things that immediately came to mind for me. One is super useful. People don't have access to the core repos code too, where it's like, hey, they have to get some of this context through the browser. The second to me is, I would imagine like you can pair this super well too with human behavior too. So it's like, it's not just the MCP doing all of it. It's like, okay, this is a great starting point. Then a human adds and just uses AI to like add test, not test, stuff like that. Any idea, and this is a question for me, any idea generally the number of test cases that this is going to produce in one of these? Like, do you find that like it's completely open-ended? Is it like 30 to 50? Is it 10? Like, or is it just like really unpredictable and it's completely based on the feature you're telling it to do?
Completely based on the feature of the application, what it can see. Like it's actually really complex, and you see here there's a lot of tests being created here and in this test plan, and you can literally go through this and you can decide, actually, I don't care about testing for a non-existent movie. Well, you totally should, but you might not, right? So you could delete that one. So you can come along here and basically modify this. But this, as you can see, there's like, whoa, like look at this. There's no way I'd write this test plan in that amount of time. Like, no way. I'm sorry, but no way. List header, information display, search functionality, search autocomplete and add movies, error handling and edge cases. I never think of those things, right? So this is really, really cool. So, you could go ahead and you could generate all these tests, and then you could kind of look at them and say, actually, this is not very good, or this is kind of duplicating a little bit of something else, or this could be, again, every app is different. Like pagination and performance, I might not care about that when I'm talking about the create list things. I could, say like, actually, no, that's not part of your job. I wanted to only focus on that page, even though there is a pagination in there, etc. So I want to go ahead. I know, Ben, there's more questions, but I want to just go ahead and run these tests so they're at least running, so people have time to see something. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, adding movies to us. I'm just going to copy that.
So what we did was we just ran the planner, right? So the next
we got our test plan under the specs folder.
Yep. And then the next point is what?
Open up the chat again. And this time, always clear context, clean context, right? You don't want to have any history. It doesn't need any history. So you clean context, there's nothing in there. And then you just go down and select the next one, which is the generator. And make sure it's in context. So I have it open, so it's in here. If not, drag it and drop it and put it in here. And then we want to say generate. I'm going to put generate a test for each. No, I'm actually not going to do this because it's going to take too long. I'm just going to do one. Well, I just do one test. Let me do add multiple movies. Let me do this one because that looks interesting. Generate a test for the section 4.4 of the test plan. So I would normally do section 4 and let it do, a few tests, but we're going to run out of time. So I'm just going to do 4.1 of the test plan. And I could basically add it in as add multiple movies sequentially, right? And I could do 2, but I did this earlier and I did all of 4, and it's a better demo because it's going to show you some tests will pass and some tests will fail. I'm kind of trying to pick out the test that's going to struggle with to maybe show you a failing test. So I could be setting myself up for failure. Again, run setup generator page, right? And you can see here, let me click on see more, the plan for adding movies. It's got 4.4, so it's jumped right down to it. It's literally just taken the plan and only taken 4.4. That's all it cares about. That's cool.
So then, quick question while it's starting, because someone asked this and I thought it was an interesting question. So what we just did was we started from something fresh, and I remember in the planner you provided context to it. You said the seed file. I would imagine that what you could do is you could alternatively provide an existing automation file along with the seed file, and you could say, open the planner, look for any gaps in this test suite that you see in this file comparatively to this feature, and give me additional tests. Like, you're not just limited to the context of the seed file, or are you limited to only providing the seed file as context?
You should be able to provide more things in for sure.
Yeah, okay.
The seed file is just getting you to a specific point. You don't even need this seed file if you don't have any of that. You might have something like, but it can, you can basically tell it what you already have.
Yep.
If you want to, and say like, only focus on this, like don't do this. Now,
Yep.
I want to stop here. This is really cool. Run verify text visible. Right. So this is basically, let me click on see more so we can understand what's going on here. So it's got to a stage where it's like, okay, I'm generating the test, but I want to make sure this is actually visible on the page before I actually put this in the test code. So verify all 3 movies are added to the list and the text is inside out too. And then we can go ahead and basically allow that. I'm going to allow in this session so it can do that. But verify text visible, you'll see a lot of these verify tools. That's what Playwright is using to verify that things are on the page before it actually writes test code. It verifies first. That's so cool. And now, Ben, you're going to love this. Run, retrieve, test log, right? Okay. So this is basically saying that it wants to retrieve a test log. And I'm going to go allow it, and then I can go back and click and see it. So now in the test log, it basically has the plan, which is for the seed file that it needs, 4.4, the only one that we asked it to do, the steps it needs to run, the expected results. The seed file is used there. This is the test code, describe. So there's my list page fixture, right? And the steps, click on add. So it's written in a log of the steps that it's done. It's logged the steps it's done. So it's going to go and generate the test based on the log that it just done. It's reading from its own log. It's reading from its own memory. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. So just repeat this back to you. And this is really cool because I didn't realize this. When it's generating, it's actually the first thing it's doing is it's manually doing the test. It's basically confirming that it can manually do the test. And the really important aspect of here is therefore it's confirming the locator's work. And basically what it's done is at the end of the test, it's like, okay, I know I've just run the test and I know I've used Playwright to run the test. So therefore, I'm just going to give you the log of Playwright that I used to run the test and give it to you as working Playwright code.
Yeah. So it's the log, as you've seen here, is basically the everything that everything that it was asked to, everything that it did, and the instructions as well. So it's kind of clear. You can see like if I go a little bit, the best practices are in here as well. So it's kind of like it's got everything in its memory in that particular moment to say, I need to make sure I don't do this and I don't do this, like really strict rules. And then it can go and run the right test tool, and it's basically going to write it in this folder, and it's going to write the code, and you can see the code in here that it's basically going to write. And we're going to go ahead and allow that. We'll allow this session. And again, you can make this quicker by allowing always, and then you can just let it just go and do its thing and not have to go and click and not have to spend time. So that's up to you. And you can also in VS Code there's a setting of just allow always, which is a bit dangerous, but I use it for demos. And then it's just like you just sit and have coffee and let it do its thing. So it basically created the test, which is now here, right? So let me go and close the chat. And this is the test. Okay. And we can go ahead and we could review this, and we can go ahead and run this test. I probably should have deselected setup because it doesn't need to run the setup test again because it's I'm using storage state, so it would have been quicker, but never mind. And damn it passed. Okay, I wanted to fail so I could show you the healer. And this is the problem I've been having with a lot of demos, that it keeps doing really good tests, and I'm like, no, I want you to break a test. So we're gonna have to imagine that one of these tests failed, right? And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to uncheck setup, so it's a little bit quicker. So I'm going to fail something. Let me see. Let me just put twisters. Okay, this should fail, right? Okay, next set of suggestions. Let me see, capitalize twisters. That's fine. And now this test is going to fail, obviously. And I'm just going to actually, without even showing you, it's going to fail. I'm going to open the chat. I'm going to ask the healer. And I'm going to say, new chat, always really important, new chat. And it's going to say run and fix test. Okay. Now, if you don't need to use the healer, then happy days, right? But I just want to show you how the healer works before we kind of end out this session. So the first thing it does is it uses the run tests from the Playwright test MCP. And the location here is tests logged in and the test that I've added into it. So we're going to go ahead and allow in this session. And I just want to really show you this because I think this is cool. It runs the list of tests to get a list of tests. Okay, so let's go ahead and allow it to get the list of tests that are available to it. And now it's going to debug the specific test. And you can see the test ID it has there. We can click on more and you can see the title. That's the test that it wants to debug. So this is something that is really cool. It's going to pause the page, right? It's going to get to that stage. It's going to find out where the error is, and it's going to pause in debug mode, and it's going to take a page snapshot, and then it's going to go, right, the test is saying one thing and the snapshot saying another, and it's going to go, I see, whatever.
And which one is it assuming is the source of truth? Is it assuming that the test is what it's trying to match, or is it trying to or would you include that in the prompt? Would you say in the prompt, like this test is now out of date, please update it? Or is it assuming, I guess that would be the first question I have.
Yeah, but I messed up. Sorry, because Twisters is already there because it was all the first movie I added in. So it can obviously see that Twisters is there. So we need to put a different movie, Ben and Debbie. Right? So we're going to run that again because when we set up the page, we had Twisters movie and I forgot about that. So now this test will definitely break. So I'll go through that again. Sorry, Ben, ask that question again.
No, you're totally fine. So when it's healing, is it assuming that the test is out of date, or that and that the bug, I guess because I've seen this question a couple of times, like this idea of false healing or something like that, and it's
yes,
when you're telling it to heal it, you're confident as the QA that there is not a bug in the app, and instead it's updating the automation to work with the app. Maybe I'm articulating that quite poorly, but are you following what the question is there?
Yes, and basically this test is a super simple fix. So this is going to just go yeah, I fixed this. And maybe you have those kind of very simple fixes that it's going to heal, it's going to fix. I just want to show you that it's running this again. So it's going to make sure that it actually passes.
Oh, that's right.
And that it adds, it double checks its own work to kind of say, yes, I fixed it, but now I'm going to run it and make sure. If it comes to a stage, and I have in a video already recorded that I should release very soon, where it wasn't sure if this was the right thing to do. So kind of I think this is an application problem as in a test problem, and it puts in a fix me. It puts in test.fixme and puts in a big comment saying, I see that this movie was in the API, but it wasn't showing in the website. I think this is an application bug. And then you would have to go ahead and basically then check that out yourself.
So question about usability then while this is running. So when it's doing the healer, are you able to, as a user, interact and give it feedback? Or is this just a linear process where it runs its thing and then it comes at the end? So for example, if it gets to the debug point, is it going to pause and the user can interact with chat, or is that not necessarily today how it's designed?
No, because you're going to probably stop it, and it's kind of I don't know if you can add more context in here, and I haven't tried that actually.
Oh, it's just
but it's kind of going through the steps, and maybe you might modify something and then do it again. I would probably call it again.
Yeah.
But here it's kind of changed Ben and Debbie to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Fair.
So we can go ahead and keep that. and run that again, and we'll see that test passes and stuff. So that's basically how you would do it. And it's going to run 5 tests. If there's 5 tests, it's going to run 10 tests if there's 10 tests. So you just basically say, go ahead and run these and let it figure it out. And it can be a little bit slow if it's got a lot of tests to run, a lot of things to figure out, but you can just like walk away, then come back. And then, so it's really important. I didn't do this in this demo, but it's really important to git diff and, commit each stage. Yep. So that when you have your tests already created, you want to make sure the healer has a clean slate to go from, so that you can, review all of those changes that it made and ensure that that's exactly what you want, because, you don't want to get it wrong, right? Like you said, so always review it, my opinion.
There's been a couple of questions about page object models in terms of the generator. So the generator obviously generated, in this case, just pure Playwright code. When it comes to like page object models, will the generator interact with existing page object models, or would you generate Playwright code and then just have another step right after, which is then just asking the chat agent, hey, here's a Playwright test, just update it with the page object models that exist or add new ones? Like, how would you recommend page object models work when it comes to this MCP?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that question yet, because we haven't fully tried it out and seen if there's anything we need to do in order to make sure that POM works. I also wanted to know from the community, is it something that you actually require and have problems with? So I'd love someone to go and test it out, like if how you're using POM, is this working for you, or what's missing, or is it not getting it, etc. I think there might be something we need to do in order to make it work, but definitely I think there's an issue already open on the GitHub repo. So I would say upvote it or comment on it, and always anything that you see that we haven't covered that you're looking for, go to GitHub and upvote issues, because that's what the team will look through and kind of say, oh my God, yes, so many people need this, want this, or yeah.
I've already said someone saying they just add an extra step to refactor. And what's interesting, or you just add it in the instruction file. That's 2 really good answers right there. The other thing that I'll say, just my interaction with using AI, is I think people want to like penalize it when it's not perfect, as opposed to it being a time-saving thing. And so like, I think that there's always use cases where like the MCP makes sense. There's other use cases where just using your own chat agent makes sense. There might be use cases where just copying the DOM makes sense. And like, to me, I think the best engineers that I've interacted with, they start to understand that these are all just tool sets to be used in different circumstances, and then like fully understand that what it might produce is not 100% perfect. But to your point, it took an hour-long task and it did it in 5 minutes. And then there's 10 minutes review, you're still net positive 45 minutes of time saving, right? So
for sure, it would have taken me longer to go ahead and do this manually, or even just to think, especially like I'm not a tester, that's not my full day job, right? So I don't look at an application and kind of know, oh, I'm going to test this and this. And I find a lot of developers don't know what to test. It's like, I'm going to test this, but they don't think about edge cases. They don't think about these other things. So LLM is giving us some, even if you just take the ideas it gives, absolutely amazing. Now you could say, I'm going to go and write all the tests myself because I'm faster than AI. I mean, if that's you and you're amazing, well, go ahead and do that. But I'm definitely not. So I find it generates much faster tests for me. And sometimes you might want to add some things into it. You can modify yourself. And as well as like just the healing is definitely so beneficial, because I've been like manually, trying to fix tests with AI and, go one by one. And this is just like, it just goes and does it, read the summary afterwards. And yeah, it's kind of like, it's really cool.
Cool. All right. We have 3 minutes left. Wow. How do you want to spend the last 3 minutes? You want to answer any questions? Do you have any announcements or anything else you want to cover?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. And I think we showed the demo, which is great, because that was like, trying to get it done in an hour is like, wow, we got it done. I'm like, I'm happy with that. So basically, VS Code is just updated. So you need to update that. You need to update Playwright. And we want you to test it out. We reckon it's amazing. But, you might find things that you need added to it, cases that we haven't thought about. So do commit, like add those on GitHub issues and say like, I've been using this, whatever, or just, ping me if you're finding some issues, something isn't working, some bug. Definitely file an issue for bugs, because I can't help you all the time. But, do check it out. This video will be live on YouTube under the live channel. And I'm also going to create another video, a shortened version of kind of like of a demo, just going through it step by step. So those will be there. The docs page is live. And there's so much more we can do. There's so much more demos we could create. And there's like, we're just like, it literally just released. So give us time. And just, yeah, do share you know what you think and what you're using it for and how good it's been. I love to hear those kind of things on LinkedIn and on Twitter, and I still say Twitter and Blue Sky or whatever social media you're using.
And as just the Playwright ambassador, one of the things I'll shout out is the GitHub issues and just the Playwright team being one of the more responsive project teams I've interacted with. And so like, just if you do have these kind of feedback errors or different things you want to see, like just as a community member myself, I've always been so pleasantly surprised with how quickly I get interaction and really cool engagement. It would push people to also go and engage there.
Sure. And there's a couple of questions in there about, yes, we're heavily focusing on AI features. We're heavily focusing on testing, not just AI features. And we're also improving the product as we go along. And that stays and remains constant. That Playwright is our core focus. And then AI is on top of Playwright. But Playwright is the core focus. So if you see something that we're missing that we should be working on, also file an issue and let us know. And yes, waiting for Python support. I will push for that. And hopefully we'll get that soon. Who knows? And yeah, Ben, it's been a pleasure. It's been great hanging out with you. I'm sorry there were so many, not enough time for questions. It was full demo heavy, and normally we get time to chat more.
One soon. I know, you know, you have twins. I have a 2-year-old, so I know we're both trying to survive that. But no, yes. Happy to do these and we'll have questions. And for the record, like I'll be playing with this over the next few weeks. If you want to check me out on LinkedIn, it's just Ben Fellows on LinkedIn. I'm hopefully going to be doing a couple videos too. Cool. I know some of the other Playwright ambassadors are doing videos on it too, as well as just general Playwright test automation and stuff like that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you everyone for joining, and do play around with it. Do check it out. It's going to take you just a couple of minutes of your time to go and play around. So do have fun. I'm excited to see all the tests you generate with it. And like, I'm excited to see you all go, wow, this is cool. Because I think it's cool, but I'm very biased. Thanks everyone. Happy testing with AI. Thanks, Ben. Bye.
See you guys.